In the early hours of a winter morning, a silent operation begins to unfold in the heart of Caracas. Federal agents and military personnel prepare for what will become one of the most significant law enforcement actions in recent memory. The target is not a simple drug trafficker or a local cartel leader. The target is the fortified compound of a man who has been called untouchable for decades, a man whose network has allegedly funneled thousands of tons of narcotics toward American shores. Tonight, the hunters become the hunted, and the full weight of American justice is about to descend upon Venezuela. This is the story of how federal agents and elite military units executed a precision strike that would shake the foundations of Latin American politics and deliver a devastating blow to one of the largest drug trafficking networks ever documented. This is the story of Operation Absolute Resolve. For years, intelligence agencies across the globe have tracked the flow of narcotics from South America into the United States. The numbers are staggering. Hundreds of thousands of deaths attributed to fentanyl alone. Billions of dollars in illicit profits flowing through shell companies, offshore accounts, and corrupt officials. But behind every statistic, there is a network. And behind every network, there is a source. For federal investigators, that source had long been identified as the highest levels of the Venezuelan government. The Drug Enforcement Administration had been building its case for over a decade. Informants embedded within the Venezuelan military provided crucial intelligence. Financial analysts traced suspicious transactions through Caribbean banks and European investment firms. Signals intelligence intercepted communications that painted a picture of systematic corruption at the highest levels. The evidence was overwhelming, but the target remained out of reach, protected by layers of security, loyal military units, and the sovereignty of a foreign nation. That changed in the early months of the current year. The Department of Justice unsealed indictments that had been prepared years earlier. The charges were severe: conspiracy to import controlled substances into the United States, narco-terrorism, weapons trafficking, and money laundering on a scale rarely seen in criminal prosecutions. The combined evidence pointed to a network that had allegedly moved over 30 tons of fentanyl and cocaine through Venezuelan ports and airfields, destined for American streets. The preparation for what would become Operation Absolute Resolve began months before the first helicopter lifted off from the deck of the assault ship positioned in Caribbean waters. Military planners coordinated with the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, and the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency to build a comprehensive picture of the target location. Analysts studied satellite imagery, tracked movement patterns, and identified security protocols at multiple facilities throughout Caracas. The reconnaissance phase was exhaustive. Intelligence officers mapped every detail of the target's daily routine. They knew which vehicles were used for transportation, which buildings were frequented, and even personal details that would prove crucial for positive identification. By early December, the tactical picture was complete. The operation was ready. All that remained was the authorization from the highest level. The signal came just before midnight on January 2nd. The President of the United States gave the order to proceed. Within minutes, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases across land and sea. The scale of the operation was unprecedented for a law enforcement action. More than 150 aircraft would participate, including stealth fighters, bombers, electronic warfare platforms, and intelligence-gathering assets. But the true spearhead of the mission would be the helicopters of the 161st Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the legendary Night Stalkers. These pilots represent the absolute elite of rotary wing aviation. Trained to fly at extreme low altitudes in complete darkness, they specialize in inserting special operations forces into the most dangerous environments on Earth. Their aircraft are not standard military helicopters. These machines are equipped with sophisticated sensor suites, terrain-following radar, and defensive systems that can detect and defeat incoming missiles. Some carry infrared-guided laser systems capable of blinding the guidance mechanisms of surface-to-air missiles before they can reach their targets. The extraction force would be comprised of operators from the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, commonly known as Delta Force. This Tier 1 unit specializes in hostage rescue, counterterrorism, and the capture of high-value targets. Their selection and training programs are among the most demanding in the world. Only a fraction of candidates who begin the process ever earn the right to serve with this elite formation. At approximately 1:50 in the morning local time, residents of Caracas began reporting unusual sounds in the sky. The deep thrum of heavy helicopter rotors mixed with the higher pitch of attack aircraft. Minutes later, the first explosions shook the capital. Precision strikes began dismantling the Venezuelan air defense network. Radar installations on elevated terrain were neutralized. Communications nodes went dark. The systematic destruction of defensive capabilities created a corridor through which the helicopter force could penetrate. At 2 in the morning, multiple large explosions were reported at Fort Tiuna, the largest military installation in Venezuela. This sprawling complex houses the Ministry of Defense, the Army Command Headquarters, and the Strategic Operational Command of the Bolivarian Armed Forces. Fires visible from kilometers away illuminated the night sky. Thick columns of smoke rose from damaged facilities. Simultaneously, strikes targeted the Generalissimo Francisco de Miranda Air Base, known as La Carlota. This facility, located within the metropolitan area of Caracas, represented a potential threat to the helicopter operation. Any fighter aircraft that managed to take off could endanger the slow-moving transport helicopters. The precision munitions ensured that threat would never materialize. The attack pattern revealed sophisticated tactical thinking. By targeting multiple air defense positions, communications infrastructure, and military airfields in rapid succession, the operation created confusion and paralysis within the Venezuelan command structure. Officers attempting to coordinate a response found their communications disrupted. Units waiting for orders received none. The carefully constructed security apparatus that had protected the regime for decades was being systematically dismantled in minutes. At 2:01 in the morning, the extraction team descended upon the target compound. According to official statements, the location was more fortress than residence, featuring reinforced steel doors and a secure room designed to withstand assault. The team moved with speed and precision, isolating the compound and advancing toward their objective. The entire apprehension took less than 40 minutes from the moment the first operators touched ground. The target had reportedly attempted to reach the fortified safe room within the residence, but was intercepted before he could access it. The extraction team had prepared for this contingency, carrying industrial cutting equipment capable of penetrating reinforced steel, but these tools proved unnecessary. The operation concluded without a single American casualty. One helicopter sustained damage from ground fire, but remained airworthy and completed the mission. By 3:20 in the morning, confirmation arrived through official channels. The high-value target and his spouse had been captured and were being transported out of Venezuelan territory. The extraction route took the prisoners first to the assault ship positioned offshore, where they underwent initial processing and medical evaluation. From there, a flight transported them to the naval station at Guantanamo Bay for further processing before the final leg of the journey to New York. The judicial process began moving even as the military operation concluded. Federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, one of the most prestigious federal courts in the nation, prepared to receive the prisoners. The charges they would face carried potential sentences of life imprisonment. The evidence compiled over years of investigation included testimony from cooperating witnesses, financial records demonstrating the movement of billions of dollars, and intercepted communications that allegedly showed direct involvement in narcotics trafficking. The detention facility selected for the prisoners is the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a federal facility known for housing high-profile defendants. Previous occupants have included some of the most notorious figures in organized crime history. The conditions are described as austere, with strict protocols governing every aspect of daily life. For individuals accustomed to wielding absolute power, the transition to federal custody represents a complete reversal of fortune. The evidence gathered during related operations has been substantial. Federal sources indicate that searches of associated facilities uncovered massive quantities of controlled substances. The seizures included processed fentanyl in quantities sufficient to cause millions of fatal overdoses. Cash in multiple currencies, much of it in untraceable denominations, was recovered from various locations. Financial records documented transactions involving shell companies across multiple continents. The weapons recovered tell their own story. Military-grade arsenals, including automatic rifles, anti-aircraft systems, and ammunition reserves sufficient for extended conflict, were documented at multiple sites. These discoveries support the prosecution's contention that the network functioned as a narco-state, combining governmental authority with criminal enterprise on an unprecedented scale. International reaction to the operation has been mixed. Allied nations have offered measured support, while traditional adversaries have condemned the action as a violation of sovereignty. Emergency sessions have been called at international bodies, with diplomatic representatives debating the legal and political implications of the operation. Within Venezuela, the immediate aftermath has been characterized by confusion and uncertainty. Senior government officials have appeared in public attempting to project stability, while simultaneously acknowledging they cannot confirm the whereabouts of their leader. Military commanders have issued statements condemning the action, but have notably refrained from ordering aggressive responses. The geopolitical implications extend far beyond the immediate region. The operation demonstrates capabilities and willingness to act that have been questioned by both allies and adversaries in recent years. The message delivered is clear. Individuals indicted by American courts for crimes against American citizens cannot consider themselves beyond reach regardless of their position or the protection they believe they enjoy. For the Venezuelan diaspora scattered across the Americas and beyond, the news has prompted emotional scenes. In cities from Miami to Madrid, from Santiago to New York, communities that have watched their homeland suffer for decades have gathered to process the implications of the operation. Many express cautious hope that the removal of the leadership might create opportunities for political transition. The prosecution team now faces the substantial task of presenting their case in open court. The evidence must meet the exacting standards of the American federal judiciary. Witnesses must testify. Documents must be authenticated. The defense will undoubtedly challenge every element of the case, but the prosecutors express confidence that the years of preparation have produced an evidentiary foundation that will withstand scrutiny. The first court appearance is scheduled within days of arrival. At this initial proceeding, the charges will be formally read, legal representation will be confirmed, and the question of detention pending trial will be addressed. Given the extraordinary circumstances and the severity of the charges, the possibility of release on bail appears remote. The intelligence gathered during the operation continues to yield results. Investigators are following leads that extend across multiple countries and involve individuals who believed their connections would never be exposed. The cooperation of the detained individuals, should they choose to provide it, could accelerate numerous ongoing investigations into international drug trafficking networks. For the specialized units that executed the operation, the mission represents a validation of years of training and preparation. The Night Stalkers and Delta Force operators who descended upon Caracas in the darkness demonstrated capabilities that few military organizations in the world can match. The coordination between multiple branches of the armed forces, intelligence agencies, and law enforcement entities functioned precisely as designed. The fentanyl crisis that has claimed tens of thousands of American lives annually now has a highly visible law enforcement response. While no single arrest can eliminate the threat posed by synthetic opioids, the disruption of a major trafficking network represents a significant achievement. The message to other organizations considering similar activities is unmistakable. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn now holds an individual who once commanded the resources of a nation, who lived in palaces protected by military forces, and who dismissed the possibility of ever facing American justice. The concrete walls and steel bars of federal detention make no distinction between powerful and powerless. As legal proceedings move forward in the coming months, the full scope of the evidence will become public. Financial networks will be exposed. Associates will be identified. The complete picture of how a government allegedly transformed into a criminal enterprise will emerge in courtroom testimony and documentary evidence. The operation that began in darkness over Caracas has illuminated realities that many preferred to keep hidden. The coordination between military power and law enforcement authority demonstrated that the resources of the United States can be focused with precision when the threat justifies the effort. The individuals who believed they had constructed an impenetrable fortress have discovered that no walls are high enough, no security sufficient, when American justice decides to act. The prisoners now await trial in a facility where the powerful and the ordinary occupy identical cells. The contrast between former circumstance and current reality could not be more stark. For the millions who have suffered under authoritarian rule, who have fled their homeland seeking safety, who have lost family members to the violence and deprivation that followed, the images of their former leader in custody represent something profound. Justice, when it arrives, does not always come quickly. But it comes, and when it does, it arrives with the full weight of law, the precision of military capability, and the determination of federal agents who have spent careers preparing for exactly this moment. The operation is complete. The prisoner is in custody. The trial will proceed, and the world watches as the legal system processes one of the most significant cases in its history.